ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। In this session, we'll be discussing from the 12th verse of the 6th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chitradhatu vichitradrin ibha bhagna bhuja druman jalashayan shiva jalan nalini surasevitaha चित्रस्वनै पत्ररथैर vibhramad भ्रमर श्रियः. The meaning of this verse is, I pass through hills and mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold, silver and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with bewildered bees and singing birds. Narad Muni is describing his travel. He passed through different kinds of places, and as it will be explained in the next verse, it is the duty of a sannyasi, a renunciant, or one dedicated to spiritual life, to actually travel through different tracts of land which are all the creation of the Supreme Lord in this material world. And none of such places have any attraction for a serious spiritualist like Narada. There's no attraction. He is passing through reservoirs of gold, silver, copper, but he has no attraction for them. Neither is he attracted to a beautiful place filled with clear water and lotus flowers, so beautiful that it is fit for the heavenly inhabitants. Singing birds, beautiful bees. He is not at all attracted by any of these, because with one pointed attention, he is determined to go to a place fit for him to sit and do meditation on the Supreme Lord, as taught by the Bhakti Vedantas, his spiritual masters, when they were staying for 4 months during Chaturmasya in that place in the forest where his mother was a maidservant. So, somebody serious about spiritual life will never be attracted to any place which is meant for satisfying the senses. Any place which is meant for sense satisfaction, such a place has no attraction for a transcendentalist, a serious spiritualist. The next verse describes further what are the different kinds of places he passed through. The 13th verse, Nalavenu Sharastamba Kushakichaka Gahvaram Eka Evati Yatoham Adraksham Vipinam Mahat Ghoram Pratibhayakaram Vyala Uluka Shivajiram. The meaning of this verse is, I then passed alone through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals. So, Narad Muni is passing through not only beautiful places, attractive places, but also through some dangerous tracts of land like forests, which are deep, dark, and dangerously fearful because they are inhabited by snakes, owls, and jackals. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, it is the duty of a mendicant. Mendicant literally means a beggar, but it is taken in the sense of a spiritualist who lives a very simple life by being dedicated for spiritual practice, and for maintaining his body, he simply begs for some little food from a householder. So, such a mendicant is called a Parivrajaka. Parivrajaka means he is traveling constantly, wandering, and Acharya means he is teaching. What is he teaching? He is teaching spiritual subject matter. He is awakening householders who are lost in material way of life to remind them about their spiritual goal in life. So he enlightens them, and on the plea of begging, he goes to their house. But his real purpose of going to the house of a householder is not for begging, it is for enlightening them spiritually. Of course, in the Vedic culture, the householders welcome a sannyasi or a traveling mendicant or a transcendentalist. They welcome him home because they know that he brings in all auspiciousness. But the real purpose of a sannyasi is not to beg. So just to satisfy some householders, he may take a little food, may take, may not take. But his main purpose is how to enlighten the householder in spiritual subject matter, which is the prime necessity for every human being. So here Srila Prabhupada is telling it's the duty of a Parivrajaka Acharya to experience all varieties of God's creation. How does he do that? By traveling alone through all forests, hills, towns, villages. Traveling alone. To gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God. This is the program of a Parivrajaka Acharya. In sannyas, there are 4 stages of development of complete renunciation. The beginning stage is called Kutichaka. The second stage is called Bahudaka. The third stage is called Parivrajaka Acharya. And the fourth stage is called Paramahamsa. Briefly, I will just mention what are the stages of sannyas. Kutichaka is when one decides to renounce connection with family members, leaves home, but not yet practiced how to maintain himself independently. So, he builds a cottage outside his village and he receives food from home. He is cut off from the family members' social interaction, but as far as his food requirement is concerned, it is taken care of by the family, former family members. When he's practiced in that way, then he realizes how he can actually maintain himself very easily by begging a little from many different houses. So nobody will feel a burden for feeding one person a little bit, collecting little from many houses. Then nobody feels the burden, and the person is very easily able to get his necessity of daily food. And so that's called Bahudaka, the second stage of sannyas, where one is not dependent only on his one home, the former Purvashram family residence, but begs little from the different people of the village outside which he is staying, and in that way very easily he maintains himself, his requirement of food. Then when he becomes further well established in sannyas, then he starts actually traveling. Traveling is for gaining strength of mind, faith in God, and enlighten the inhabitants as he is passing through different towns, villages, or settlements, human settlements, like that. So these three things are particularly mentioned here. Traveling alone to become fearless, because a sannyasi knows that God is in my heart and he is my topmost well-wisher, he is my protector, he is my maintainer. Only due to illusion somebody may think that I have to depend on somebody else or something else outside of me. Actually, one's dependence should be on the Supreme Lord seated in the heart, who is always accompanying every person and is providing, maintaining, is actually taking care of the well-being. It is only the Supreme Lord who does so. So this is the purpose of a sannyasi. Now further, Srila Prabhupada says, a sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without fear. And the most typical sannyasi of the present age is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He took sannyas and he traveled in the same manner like Narada Muni traveled in a former age. Chaitanya traveled through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even the tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals. What to speak of enlightening human beings? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even enlightened jungle animals while traveling. Of course, he is the Supreme Lord, so he can enlighten any living entity. But at least we should attempt to enlighten human beings in the subject matter of Sankirtana, Bhakti Yoga, or practice of devotional service, which is the recommended process in this age. So, Srila Prabhupada further says, in this age, Kali, in the age of Kali, sannyas is forbidden for ordinary people because they cannot maintain sannyas like in former ages. But for the sake of preaching, one may accept sannyas simply for the sake of preaching Krishna consciousness. Because there is a need for preachers to travel and preach. So this sannyas, more than change of dress, what is important is to stop social intercourse and devote life exclusively for preaching the message of God among the common people. That is the real purpose of sannyas, that is the spirit of sannyas. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.